Welcome back to Stooge Stream. I'm your host, the Stooge, and for something different, here is my Atari Lynx collection. I'm a huge fan of handheld gaming. I have been ever since I got my first Game Boy way back when I was a little tucker back in the 80s. I've had every incarnation of Nintendo's handhelds from then till now. I've clearly got an Atari Lynx. I've got a Game Gear. I've also got some weirder ones like the Neo Geo Pocket Color, the Wonder Swan Color, and a few other little things that we'll eventually get to. In the meantime, this is what I've got for the Atari Lynx, currently up to date. I've got a pretty good selection of the games for the console. There were quite a few and some great actual arcade ports. But let's get started. First up, a very common title, Crystal Mines 2. This is a puzzler type game. Not bad actually, it's quite fun. We've got Checkered Flag, another very common title. You'll see this constantly. First arcade port, Road Blasters. This is actually a really good arcade port of Road Blasters. It's a lot of fun. It's a driving, shooting, kind of a Chase HQ game, but not really. Shadows of the Beast. So this was an Amiga port. This was the Lynx version of it, and it's actually pretty decent if you're a fan of the game. I'm not a huge fan of Shadows of the Beast, but this is a good port of it. This is, I believe, a Lynx exclusive. I don't know about this on arcade or any other console. This is Dirty Larry Renegade Cop. This is a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up where you are a renegade cop, Dirty Larry. Do I need to say more? Another arcade port, we had Raga. This was actually a really, really good port. Being the fact that the Lynx was a full color system, was a little bit more powerful than the Game Boy. It was a little bit ahead of its time, so it looked really, really good, when the capacitors were completely working. But Raga was a great port. This was another, I believe, Lynx exclusive. This is Xylor Mercenaries. This is a shoot-'em-up. It has some RPG mechanics. It's a lot of fun. It's a great shoot-up. It's very difficult, but it gets progressively easier and more difficult as you level up. This was a great game. I believe this was an arcade port as well. Basket Brawl. This is very much like Arch Rivals, where you have 2-on-2 basketball. You can punch the guys to take the ball from them. There's opposition members on the sidelines throwing stuff on the court. You can pick up weapons. You can do it. This is a really, really fun little sports title. Blue Lightning was very much the Atari Lynx version of Afterburner. It plays pretty much the same as Afterburner. It looks like Afterburner. It's just Afterburner. Kung Food. Now I believe this is another Atari Lynx exclusive. This is a walk-around beat-em-up based around food. You're a piece of moldy food, I believe, in a kitchen that becomes a man-ish thing, and you beat the crap out of all this other food. Another great arcade port is Hydra. Hydra is actually very similar to Road Blasters, but in water. You're a boat, you burn along, you blow stuff up, you attack stuff, you can jump on these ramp things. You have to pick up fuel and ammo and stuff. It's a fun, very difficult arcade-style game, but it looks fantastic on the Lynx. Pinball Jam. This sucks. I'm a huge fan of pinball games. This was based on Elvira, Mistress of Darkness. It's just bad. APB. I haven't played enough of this, but I did enjoy what I played of it. This is another arcade port by Atari. So it's kind of weird. The basic premise is you're a cop car that you aim with the directional sticks, but you don't actually drive the car. You're aiming the car. It's hard to explain. It's more of a puzzle game, but it's a lot of fun. It's difficult, but not overly difficult. You can jump into it and pretty much figure it out in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes and start having fun. But it does ramp up. Ninja Gaiden. You're all like, what? Ninja Gaiden was on the Lynx? Yes, Ninja Gaiden was on the Lynx. Not the version you're thinking of, though. This isn't the NES version of Ninja Gaiden, the 2D platform hack and slash game that's uber difficult. This is the arcade beat 'em up. So what some of you don't know was Ninja Gaiden was originally an arcade game, and when they brought it over to the NES, they just turned it into a completely different game. As far as I know, it wasn't ported to many home systems, the original arcade beat 'em up, but here is a copy of it, and it plays really well. We'll save that one. Steel Talons is a flight sim shooter by Tengen, which is Atari. It's okay. Nah, I'm just not a big flight sim shooter type guy. I prefer Blue Lightning. It's arcade, it's fun. Blockout is a puzzler. It's kind of a Tetris style puzzle game. It's pretty fun if you like puzzle games. I'm a huge fan of those Tetris style or, Connect 3 puzzle games. So, this kind of does it for me. Another puzzle game, and this is actually really good on the Lynx. I think the Lynx is probably the best port of this game for its era, or very close to. The NES port's not too bad, but I think the Lynx actually just smashes as far as playability and graphically, and that's Clacks. So Clacks, you have tiles falling from the ceiling, and you've got to match 4. It's 3 or 4, I can't remember. No, it's match 4. Before too many tiles fall down and take up too many spaces, you can match in, vertical and horizontal as well as diagonals. So there's a lot of gameplay there. It gets faster and faster and more difficult. It's a really good arcade puzzler if you're into those type of games. Zybots. Zybots is a arcade port again. This is probably one of the better ports of this game. It was, I believe, on the Master System and possibly Genesis and some other things. I honestly think it looks and plays a bit better on the Lynx than it does most of the other systems. It's a lot of fun. It's a great over-the-shoulder, close-range, third, almost fake first-person shooter, corridor shooter. Very much worth checking out. This is a very fun game. And now I may have got this confused with the other one. The other one might just be the side-scrolling shooter, and this might be the RPG side-scrolling shooter. One's one, one's the other. I can't remember. Both of them are actually quite competent shooters either way. So I would recommend getting either one of them. Gates of Xenocon. It's got that different style of cartridge, so this is clearly later in the Lynx's life cycle. Still a really fun game, though. And finally, Gauntlet. Now you're thinking, yeah, I've seen that before. It's on every system ever, as well as arcade, rah, rah. True, but the Lynx version of Gauntlet is its complete own separate version of Gauntlet. It's not the arcade version, it's not the NES version. It's its own game. It's also got a bunch of unique characters in it. So instead of just having 3 to 4 characters, I think there's about 10 or so you can choose from, including some weird choices like the nerd and some other things like that. It's really bizarre, but it is a great version of Gauntlet. It plays really well if you've got link up. You can actually link up to 4 players in this. It honestly has to be one of the best versions of Gauntlet other than the arcade version. Flat out, for a home version, be it handheld or home console, I would take this version of Gauntlet over many others. I know other people are probably going to argue with me about that. I'm talking about just the original Gauntlet, not Gauntlet 3, not some of the later ones. Just the original Gauntlet. I think this is probably the best version of it because it is a unique version of it, which is pretty damn cool. Are you a fan of the Atari Lynx? Clearly I am. I've bought a lot of games for it in a very short period of time. I've only had a Lynx for about a year or less. So let me know what you think of the console. Have you played it? Did you grow up with it? I actually had one as a kid, but over time it disappeared, or I sold it, or my parents may have given it to somebody. They used to do stupid shit like that. Who knows? it just disappeared. So I was really happy to get a Lynx back. I actually got a Game Gear around the same time as well, and we'll have a look at my Game Gear collection soon. Until then, as I said, comment below. Let me know what you thought of the Lynx games. Was there anything there you weren't aware of? Was there any games here that you really liked? Are you going to go check any of these out? You can emulate a bunch of these. I don't think the experience is the same as the actual Lynx itself, but you still can check them out, and it's well worth checking them out. Till next time, I've been your host, the Stooge, and don't forget, adventure, excitement, Stooge craves not these things. Welcome to the Stooge Revolution.